Welcome, World History 1 students. I'm going to give you a quick rundown of important people that you need to know. These are more people than, like, say, if I was picking my top 20, but these are all people that have a possibility of being on your SOL test. And there's over 100 people we need to know. I've tried to make this list a much smaller list. This is an idea of the timeline, so we're going to talk about these people in order. So the first on our list is Menes, King Menes, also known as King Narmer. He has two names because he united Upper and Lower Egypt, and that is what makes him significant. Put the capital at Memphis. Hammurabi, one of the most important men on this list for sure. And Hammurabi is known for developing the Code of Hammurabi, which is one of the first written codes of law. He was the king of Babylon, and it was a very strict code of law. It did vary according to class. It did not treat everyone equally. After that, we have Abraham, who is the father of the Hebrews. He's the founder of the Hebrew people and the founder of Judaism. Then we have Hatshepsut, who is the first woman ruler. She was an Egyptian woman ruler. Many people considered her to be the first important woman in history. Ramses II is probably the most important Egyptian pharaoh. He built more monuments and temples than any other Egyptian king. This is the same Ramses that is often associated with Moses. And Ramses also had over 100 children, 54 of them being boys. King David is the second king of the Israelites, but he's probably the most important king because he's the one who establishes the capital at Jerusalem and really builds them into what they are as Israel. His son Solomon will build the temple for the Jews. Homer was the Greek epic poet who wrote the Iliad and the Odyssey. Draco, in my class we didn't talk about him much this year because we were just trying to get through everything so fast. So Draco was one of the Athenian rulers, and his laws are very strict. It's actually where we get the word draconian from, which means very, very strict. Siddhartha Gautama is also known as Buddha, and he's the founder of Buddhism. Remember, the main tenets of Buddhism are the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. Let's scooch up a little bit. All right, so after number 9, we have number 10, Confucius. Confucius, who's the founder of Confucianism, which the main beliefs is started in China, and the main beliefs are emphasis on ethics and ancestor worship and respect for your elders. He believed in the 5 relationships, like that we have to act appropriately, like father, son, ruler, subject. Pythagoras is a Greek mathematician. He's the one who came up with the Pythagorean theorem, which helps us to find the hypotenuse of a right angled triangle. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. Socrates is the father of philosophy, probably the greatest philosopher ever to exist. He taught by asking questions, and he ended up being executed. He was forced to drink poison. He could have chosen exile, but he chose poison instead for corrupting the youth of Athens. His student is Plato, so I always think Socrates taught Plato, Plato taught Aristotle. Aeschylus, you say it like an escalator. Aeschylus was a great tragic playwright. Remember that drama was invented by the Greeks, and they were big fans of tragedy. Sophocles is another one of those great tragic playwrights. Most famous play that he wrote is Oedipus Rex. Aeschylus is Oresteia, which is about King Agamemnon sacrificing his daughter before he goes off to the Trojan War, and about how that the consequences of our actions extend beyond one generation. Herodotus, another Greek, he's the father of history, was the first one to kind of write and record primary source events by kind of cataloging, analyzing. Hippocrates is the father of modern medicine, also Greek. He's the one who came up with what we call the Hippocratic Oath, that doctors should promise to do no harm. We also have, next is Pericles, who was one of the greatest rulers of Athens. He ruled during the Golden Age of Greece. He ordered the building of the Parthenon. Phidias is, actually like Adidas, is the guy who designed the Parthenon. He's a sculptor. Plato, who I mentioned before, famous for writing the Republic and Questions and a Treatise and Essay on Government. And then we have, and he's a Greek philosopher, Philip II of Macedon, who conquered all of the Greeks except for Sparta. Aristotle, Plato's student. Aristotle also taught Alexander the Great, Philip's son. Alexander the Great would go on to conquer the rest of Greece and then Egypt and then all the way to India. So his empire spread from Greece to India. And he did so using the phalanx, which his father had taught them, which was where all of the stand with your spears, you move as a unit. Hannibal is associated with the Punic Wars. He tried to attack Rome. He was from Carthage. He invaded Italy through the Alps using elephants. He lost, sadly. He was winning until Scipio, the Roman general, attacked Carthage. Qin Huangdi is the most famous Chinese ruler we need to remember. He did a lot of good things like standardizing the wagon wheel and coins and weights and measures, but he also did a lot of horrible things, like he did the world's first book burning. China is named after him. He unified China and started part of the Great Wall of China, which was built to keep out invaders. And Qin Huangdi also built this amazing tomb and had terracotta soldiers built, but people were so mad about it that after he died, they burned it. All right, I'm going to move over so we can get the rest of our list here. So we have, maybe I'll move myself over. All right, so we have Julius Caesar, who is the end of the Roman Republic, and his assassination officially ends the Republic. He started a civil war in Rome when he crossed the Rubicon River, moving into Rome, saying the die is cast, and he conquered Gaul. He was an amazing leader, did a lot of really great things. The calendar that we have today came from him, but people feared his power. Eventually, his nephew, his adopted son, Augustus Caesar, or Octavian, became the first emperor of Rome and started the Roman Empire. Cleopatra was living also in this time period. She had been a friend of Julius Caesar, but she will also fall in love with Mark Antony, who is fighting with Augustus Caesar, and she will work to try to defend Egypt unsuccessfully. Jesus is also coming about in this time period, so we'll see the rise of Christianity. And you see my other videos about religions, but Christianity is officially the religion of the Roman Empire under Emperor Constantine, who also moves the capital to Constantinople. Theodosius will make Christianity the official religion of the Roman Empire. Therefore, Constantine legalizes it under the Edict of Milan, made Christianity legal, but it will officially become the religion of the empire under Theodosius. The empire will split. 476 will see the Roman Empire fall, but the Eastern Empire will thrive as the Byzantine Empire, and the greatest Byzantine Empire ruler was Justinian. Justinian was married to Theodora. Justinian built the Hagia Sophia. He is most famous for codifying or gathering, cleaning up written code of law. Prophet Muhammad was born after him. Prophet Muhammad is the founder of Islam, and after his death, we'll see Islam spread out of Saudi Arabia into North Africa and into Europe. And that brings us to Pippin the Short, who will defeat the Muslims at the Battle of Tours, which is important because the Battle of Tours stops the spread of Islam into Europe. Then we will have Charlemagne, who will reunite Europe for the first time since the Romans. He is a Frankish king and will spread churches and education, does a lot of good things, but the empire kind of falls after his son. Sons kind of don't really know what to do. So it is the Holy Roman Empire under him, and he is crowned the Holy Roman Emperor. We're going to move now to England with William the Conqueror. And William the Conqueror in 1066 wins the Battle of Hastings to become the King of England. England had been united under King Alfred, and he called it Angleland after the Anglo-Saxons. And William the Conqueror, though, will start some traditions that will lead to the Parliament, and which is a council, it calls it a great council, which will advise him. Pope Urban II is important because he calls for the crusade, the first crusade, which called for Christians to go and get Jerusalem back from the Muslims. It's an epic failure. There's many, many crusades, and none of it really works. Henry II is an important British king, because under him we'll start to see common law, and which is this important idea of law being written down. Petrarch is a Renaissance poet, wrote lots of beautiful poems about his dead girlfriend who had died in the plague. Joan of Arc is the famous French warrior from the 100 Years' War between the French and the English, and she will inspire the French to fight, and she will eventually be captured and executed and accused of heresy because she was a woman leading battle who claimed that a saint had spoken to her. Pachacuti is just super fun to say. Pachacuti is like the Alexander the Great of the Inca Empire, and so he expanded the Inca Empire. Gutenberg is the one who invented the printing press, which will help spread the ideas of the Renaissance. Ivan the Great kicked out the Mongols of Russia and united the Russians and formed what is today modern-day Russia. Isabel and Ferdinand were king and queen in Spain, and Isabel kicked out basically everybody who wasn't Catholic, but she also did sponsor Christopher Columbus's voyage. Leonardo DiCaprio is not who we're talking about. Leonardo da Vinci is known as a Renaissance man, and he painted the Mona Lisa and the Last Supper, and he's one of the most famous Renaissance artists. Machiavelli wrote The Prince, and he, which says that the end justifies the mean. He's another one of our great Italian Renaissance writers. Shakespeare is writing in the late 1500s in England, and he is a great Renaissance writer, and his plays are still read today because he writes about universal themes that are relevant to us. Louis Leakey, modern day, but Louis Leakey is a great archaeologist and discovered some of the most complete skeletons that we have of early man. So that's a highlight under 50 people that are important for you to know for your SOL test.